What else we got here? Okay. Humber Valley paving. I'm almost getting sick of this, even though it's extremely important, I think. So, yeah. The issues surrounding... We start the conversation, and I just did. Start it by saying Humber Valley paving. They just so happen to be the company in the conversation regarding the work not done, the contract dissolved, the return of the bond, da-da-da-da-da-da. You know the deal. But boys, oh boys, oh boys. The government, man, even me at a loss for words, that doesn't happen to me. It doesn't happen to me. This has gone beyond curious and troubling, upsetting and dim-witted to obscene. This is truly maddening. It is. It's absolutely maddening. One thing I can say about this, when Premier Marshall shuffled his cabinet with only a couple of months left in his tenure as the Premier, a gentleman I have tremendous respect for, Tom Marshall, I do. You can like me or loathe me for that, I couldn't care less. So he shuffles his cabinet. And in that shuffle, he moved a couple of people out of portfolios where they were being dogged by certain issues. Clyde Jackman, for one, in education, right? Moved out, King in. Susan Sullivan moved out of health. And mostly because they had to protect her from the obvious questions that were coming her way based on decisions and the reversal of fortunes, the flip-flop, the 180, regarding the Corner Brook Hospital and the radiation unit. So Sullivan was thrown out there to defend government's decision not to include it. And so because they flip-flopped on her and threw her under the bus in some regard, whether it's right or wrong, politics or not, that's what happened. And so she's moved out of the portfolio, doesn't have to answer the questions. And I think she's lucky because of it, because they were coming full force, right? Nick McGraw, the Minister of Transportation and Works, no matter what they try and tell us, we know and they know that this was going to be an issue. The Humber Valley paving piece, it was going to be a problem. Not because there was, look, some people want the RCMP in there. I don't know. This could have been a reasonable negotiation between two sides of a contract, even if there was compensation paid to Humber Valley paving for work done. Doug, by all accounts so far, it doesn't look like they paid any more than they were due. That's not part of it. But when the contract was dissolved, and the return of the bond. Now, I have a letter here that was sent to Mr. Coleman. I don't even know what, it's to Gene Coleman from the Deputy Minister. We don't get to talk to the Deputy Ministers. Funny. So, this could have been a reasonable contract affair, but it was handled so poorly by the government that it's becoming stupid. I mean, this is stupid, right? So, and now they're going to be beaten to hell because of it. And that's their own fault. So McGraw. He was left in the transportation file and not spared what was coming down the pike, obviously, predictably, and justifiably. So what does that make Minister McGraw? I don't really know the man. I've talked to him a couple of times, but I can tell you one thing. He has been chosen to be the sacrificial lamb on this one. He was not taken out of the portfolio when everybody but everybody, including the Premier, including everybody of strategic counsel to the provincial government, the PCs, obviously. He knew this was going to be an issue, and they left him in the portfolio. And they left him there. So with all due respect to Minister McGraw, who might be the best kind of young fella, and might be a reasonable MHA, but on this front, he has got to understand in his mind, and I think he does, I mean, I don't know, the answers he's offering to the questions posed are ridiculous. In my own estimation, I think they're ridiculous. He was left there to take all the slings and arrows and rocks and condemnation and criticism. They knew it was coming, and they left him there anyway. But they didn't do the same to Jackman, and they didn't do the same to Sullivan, but they did it to McGraw. And they left him there to take everything that was coming his way. A couple of things on that front. So, he didn't deal directly with Frank Coleman, and in his role as the Minister of Transportation and Works, never met with and or talked about anything with Frank Coleman. Okay, we don't know any difference, so, I mean, whatever. What else can I say? So he dealt with Gene Coleman. But here's some of the stuff that's just not working for anybody. And, sometimes the spin that comes from politics is hard to swallow at the best of times. When it comes across like this, it's just beyond laughable, right? I consider it completely stupid. And Minister McGarry, you're welcome to call the show. It's totally up to you. Consider that your invite. Take it or not. Didn't do the math that Gene Coleman was belonging to Frank. So wait now, Humber Valley Paving, a well-known company in this province. If you're the Minister of Transportation Works, so how many paving companies are there? And you know that company is operated by a gentleman named Frank Coleman, a well-respected businessman from the west coast of Newfoundland. Okay, so when he is out of his director's position to solely shares, the next person that you deal with on a contract of some dispute in Labrador is a gentleman named Gene Coleman. And you're telling me that you didn't do the math that Gene was belonging to Frank? I don't know Gene Coleman. I never met Frank Coleman until a couple of weeks ago. I don't know anything about these guys. But yet you, as the minister dealing with paving contracts, didn't know that Gene might be belonging to Frank for Humber Valley Paving. Come on, right? Come on. So you are there protecting the government and protecting the premier. Once again, only the second time he had intervened as the minister with a contract dispute of any note. Once when he was first into the job, and once now, but no issue was played because Frank was the incoming premier, the incoming leader of the party that you are a member of the caucus, member of the cabinet. I mean, boys, you know what? Even if there's no wrongdoing, the fact of the matter is, beyond the policies that have been butchered and blatantly not followed, no paper trail to document the timing, the conversations, the legalities, none of that in place for us to review. A letter. I got a letter here. Listen to this. So a letter coming from the Deputy Minister to Mr. Coleman, Gene Coleman. Gene Coleman, once again, I don't blame any of this on Humber Valley Paving. I don't. I really don't. This is not their problem. This is the government's problem. Here's a letter from the department saying, here we go. Here we had a conversation on the phone. I'm going to summarize. I'll paraphrase. And if you think haven't done the letter justice, well, someone freaking call me or quit your sucking. So they say, yeah, our mutual agreement is reached based on the understanding and subject to your company's agreement. No further claim for compensation. However, blah, 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 blah. Should your company be in agreement with the foregoing, please sign the acknowledgement below and return to me at your earliest convenience. No, boy, as if there was going to be controversy coming for Humber Valley Paving for forgiveness for the incomplete work and the return of the bonds. This could all be above board, but we don't know because it's so bloody stupid that we'll just always treat it as such. And so if you're the PCs and you have a man coming in who had the guts and the courage to put his name forward, even with all the other shenanigans surrounding him, the fixes in and blah, 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 here's a guy that is now going to wear the boorish behavior and the incompetence and the ridiculous communications and procedures from the government. It's shocking at best. Anybody from the government crooked about that? Yeah, call.